You are crouched in the tall, dry brush of the African savanna at midnight. The wind shifts. You hear a low guttural rumble vibrating through the earth. A lion is snarling somewhere in the pitch black. Every primal instinct you possess screams at you to freeze because your fragile hairless skin is absolutely no match for 500 pounds of apex muscle, claw, and tooth. But here is what is actually happening in the deep code of nature. You are worrying about the wrong ghost. The real monster in the dark is the one currently staring back into your mirror. Before we descend into the landscape of fear, tell me in the comments, if you were completely stranded in the wild, which predator would terrify you the most? Let us find out if your instincts match the brutal reality of evolution. Let us go back even further because humans have spent centuries nursing a massive collective insecurity about our physical place in the animal kingdom. We look at our lack of fangs, our lack of armor, and our lack of speed, and we assume we are the vulnerable victims of the wild. We tell stories about how helpless we are without our modern technology. But a massive biological mega-experiment has completely shattered this fragile assumption. Dr. Liana Zanet and Dr. Michael Clinchy, two renowned conservation biologists from Western University in Canada, traveled deep into South Africa's Greater Kruger National Park to test a wild hypothesis. Kruger is home to one of the largest, most stable lion populations left on Earth. These animals are the ultimate group-hunting land predators. They are the definition of terror. The researchers deployed hidden automated camera speaker systems at isolated watering holes during the peak of the dry season. Water is a scarce, high-stakes resource, and animals must risk everything to drink at these spots where lions regularly launch their ambush attacks. When an animal walked within 10 meters of the hidden sensors, it triggered a video recording paired with a specific sound played at a normal conversational volume. They played the sounds of hunting dogs, they played gunshots, they played the snarling communication of alpha lions, and they played normal human conversation in the most widely spoken local languages including Tsonga, Northern Sotho, English, and Afrikaans. The animals did not react the way pop culture told us they would. They did not ignore the humans and flee the lions. The exact opposite happened. The human voice was an absolute psychological trigger for pure unadulterated panic. Across 19 different mammal species surveyed, a staggering 95% of the wildlife fled the watering holes significantly faster upon hearing a calm human conversation compared to the terrifying growls of a lion pack. They were not reacting to a shout, they were not reacting to a threat. They were reacting to regular human grammar. Not because we are loud, not because we are fast, because we are uniquely deadly. Giraffes, leopards, hyenas, zebras, and warthogs were twice as likely to instantly abandon their water and run for their lives when they heard a human talking about their day. One simple conversation, one single vocal signature ripples panic across an entire ecosystem of apex carnivores. Here is something that genuinely surprises most people who look at the food chain from a comfortable modern perspective. The absolute terror we inspire in wild animals is not an accident or a modern quirk of industrialization. It is a highly rational, evolutionary response to humanity's unique identity as Earth's ultimate superpredator. For decades, textbook ecology taught us that large carnivores sat comfortably at the absolute pinnacle of the trophic pyramid. But global wildlife surveys and hard harvest data have exposed a far darker reality. When researchers mapped out the sheer volume of wildlife killed across the planet, the numbers were terrifying. Humans do not kill like normal animals. Humans kill medium-sized carnivores at 5 times the rate of non-human predators, and we systematically slaughter large apex carnivores at a jaw-dropping 9 times the natural baseline rate. We are not just participants in the ecosystem. We are an unmitigated apex slaughterhouse. This extreme lethality was carved into the genetic memory of global wildlife over hundreds of thousands of years of deep time. Ancient humans did not just hunt with tooth and nail. They used complex cognitive networking, persistence tracking that ran animals to actual heart failure, and terrifying projectile weapons that broke the physical laws of natural combat. If an animal encountered a lion, it stood a statistical chance of escape through sheer speed or physical counterattack. If an animal encountered a group of cooperative, tool-bearing hominins, its entire bloodline was effectively erased from the timeline. The natural world learned through a brutal process of elimination that humans do not respect the traditional rules of engagement. If this deep dive into the hidden mechanics of evolutionary psychology is completely shifting your perspective, smash the like button and subscribe right now so we can keep mapping the hidden systems of history together. We do not need claws, we do not need venom, we do not need speed. And yet here we are standing as the living boogeyman of the entire mammalian class. Let us take a step back and look at the full picture by shifting our scale from the plains of Africa to a cold, rainy night in the Santa Cruz Mountains of California. The fear of the human voice is so deeply ingrained that it completely overrides the basic physiological need for food, even in the most aggressive predators of North America. Dr. Justine Smith, an ecologist from the University of California, Davis, set up a targeted bioacoustic camera trap experiment centered around wild puma kill sites. Pumas are massive, solitary mountain lions that guard their hard-won prey with absolute ferocity. The trail cameras captured a dominant puma happily feeding on a fresh deer carcass while the gentle sounds of native Pacific tree frogs played from a nearby speaker. The cat was completely relaxed. Then, the audio track switched. The frog calls stopped, and the speaker began playing the calm, dry voice of an older man reading a legal court case transcript. There was no aggression in the voice, no shouting, and no mimicry of a hunt. It was pure, boring human legal prose. The reaction from the apex predator was instantaneous and shocking. The puma did not growl, it did not investigate, and it did not try to defend its food. It startled violently, abandoned its fresh meat, and fled into the dark timber in a state of absolute psychological distress. The research proved that pumas systematically feed far less and abandon their hard-won territory the moment human speech infects the landscape. This same bizarre paradox plays out on an even grander scale back in the African savanna with the largest land mammals on Earth. During the Kruger National Park experiments, a massive multi-ton elephant became so enraged by the recording of a snarling lion pack that it actively charged the brush and completely smashed the speaker equipment to pieces. It was entirely willing to fight the top feline predator on the continent to protect its space. But when that same elephant herd encountered the quiet sound of human conversation, they lost their composure entirely, turned tail, and staged a massive, highly organized retreat. A multi-ton tank of muscle and ivory will face a lion, but it will flee from an English sentence. Let us zoom out one final time to look at how this collective panic rewrites the behavior of entire global ecosystems, creating what ecologists call a permanent landscape of fear. The psychological trauma we inflict on wild animals does not just cause them to run away in the moment. It completely mutates the structural geography of the wild. When apex carnivores spend their lives in a state of constant auditory paranoia, they stop hunting efficiently. They avoid prime water sources, they restrict their movements to specific slivers of the night, and they abandon massive swaths of territory just to avoid the invisible acoustic footprint of human beings. This creates a massive, destabilizing trophic cascade throughout the entire food web. Because the pumas and leopards are too terrified to feed near human zones, small herbivore populations explode, overgrazing the vegetation and altering the physical flow of rivers. The mere sound of our communication acts as an invisible, highly toxic chemical spill that alters animal biology without a single drop of blood being shed. By the way, if you want to go even deeper into the unspoken realities of evolutionary biology, share this video with someone who still thinks humans are physically weak compared to wild animals. We have built a world where our casual conversations are more terrifying than a predator's roar, and the entire living world is constantly shifting its shape just to stay out of our sight. The honest answer is that we are not the fragile observers of nature we pretend to be in our modern stories. We are the ultimate horror movie villains of planet Earth, hardwired into the nightmares of every creature that breathes. So when you stand in the wild and feel a shiver run down your spine because you think you are being watched, remember that every eye in the brush is staring at you with a deep ancestral dread. One species, one inherited language ripples panic across the entire living world.